In this video, we're going to be reviewing the Smith & Wesson Model 60 J-frame. If the Model 60 looks familiar to you, it should. The origins of the Model 60 date back to 1965 when it was first introduced. The most common variant back then was the 2-inch model. This is the 3-inch model that many police detectives and off-duty police used to carry. The Model 60 was actually also known as the first stainless steel revolver ever made. And the first configuration it was made in was 38 Special back in the 60s. The Magnum J-frame version was introduced later in 1996, with the current version that I have here today on the table, which is the Model 60-16, which came out in 2001. So what are some of the things, first off, that I like about the Model 60? The first point is it's high quality. It is a Smith & Wesson, typical what you would see with most Smith & Wessons today. It is made in stainless steel. It has adjustable sights, excellent sight systems. It is also very lightweight and compact. Even when you have the smaller 2-inch version, it's very easy to carry around, very compact. It's also versatile. It is a .357 Magnum, which we'll get into in a moment, which isn't always easy to fire out of this pistol, but you have a lot of options with the .357 Magnum. You can download it to the 38 Special Plus P, or you can go down to the 38 Special loads as well. So what are some of the drawbacks of the pistol? Well, first off, it's a revolver, which means it gets dirty when you fire it, so it's a typical revolver. It only holds 5 rounds compared to traditional 6-round models like the 66, and even now the 7-round models like the 686 model. It is limited in use because of its barrel length. You can't, in most states, they require at least 6-inch barrels for hunting, so it limits what you would do with that as well. Some of the other drawbacks are it can actually hurt your wrist. Compared to the other heavier frame Smith & Wessons, it can actually hurt your wrist to fire really hot .357 loads through this pistol. Even for the most experienced shooter, it can be very uncomfortable to fire out of this, so it's one of the drawbacks as well. Even though it's rated as a .357 Magnum, firing loads out, for example, comparable to a 686 is very different than firing out of the pistol. It's just simple physics. The heavier the gun, the more recoil impulse it can take. So that's one of the gives and takes you have, which is a smaller, more versatile pistol. Also, is harder to shoot heavier loads with. It can also be relatively expensive to buy a Smith & Wesson compared to a lot of other models you see out today, including a lot of semi-automatics. It's just revolvers are more of a pistol of the past. With newer technologies, with newer semi-autos coming out, fewer and fewer people are buying the revolvers as opposed to the pistols, and a lot of it just simply has to do with cost. It takes a lot more money to produce and buy one of these pistols than it does many of the more common semi-autos that are on the market today. So as we talked about before, it is .357 Magnum, 38 Special, 5-round, as opposed to 6 and 7 rounds that you can normally carry. Traditional, typical type of semi-automatic, or I'm sorry, double action and single action. And even for a smaller pistol, the triggers, as with the case with many of the Smith & Wessons, all of them in fact that I've ever owned, excellent trigger within these pistols themselves. As I alluded to earlier, it is limited to what you can fire out of this. The most comfortable round that most people will be able to fire out of this pistol, it will be the 38 Special Plus P loads. 38 Specials are easy to fire out of this, but the 38 Special Plus Ps tend to be where most people hit their breaking point, where that is the most comfortable and most powerful round that you can shoot out of this before you move into the .357 Magnums. Even myself, if I fire .357 Magnums out of here, it can be very difficult to do, and part of that challenge with that is if it's not comfortable to fire out of the pistol, it tends to lead to a lot of flinching and inaccuracies, which really takes away from the whole point of having the pistol. It is, ultimately what you're trying to do is find that compromise between your accuracy and the amount of power that you can come out of it. And in most cases, even though it can support heavier .357 loads, most people will be most comfortable just firing the 38 Special Plus Ps out of this. You might be occasionally in the woods and you have a .357 Magnum, but again, if you're flinching and it's hard for you to shoot, if you're not hitting your target, it doesn't matter what caliber you're shooting. You're going to miss your target. And in that case, there's questions that you have to ask between the two. As far as ergonomics and weight, so looking at one of the benefits of this pistol is the sheer fact of how light it is. So in this case, for example, it comes in at 1 pound, 6.5 ounces. Now you compare that, for example, to the old 66K frames that came in at 1 or 2 pounds, 3.5 ounces, and now the 686s, again, another 3-inch model coming in at 2 pounds, 4.5 ounces. So very lightweight pistols. In this case, it makes it very easy to carry. However, when you compare that, for example, to concealed carry pistols like the Glock 43, the Glock 43 now comes in at around a pound. So you're still 6 ounces over what you would normally have with, for example, a Glock 43, but it's still very lightweight and easy to carry. The other thing that comes with the pistol when I purchased it was they actually had some beautiful wood grips that came with it. And when you look at the grip that comes over the pistol, one of the challenges I have with the wood grips, especially on a couple of models, including many of the Smiths that I have, is even though it's a nice looking grip, with a lighter pistol, I need to have as good a purchase as possible onto the pistol when I'm firing it, especially when I'm firing hotter loads like the Plus P loads and the 357 Magnums. Because of that, I typically put Hogue grips on all of my Smith & Wesson. So if you're going to buy a Smith & Wesson Model 60, it will probably come with a grip like this. And if it does, I suggest you buy the Hogue grip as well. And then go out and fire some of your hotter loads to determine ultimately which one is most comfortable for you. The drawback with the Hogue grips are if you carry these close to your body, these can rub against your body and your shirt and things of that nature. So even though you get a good purchase in your hand, it can cause some discomfort at times when people carry them, as opposed to the more slick wood finish that might be easier to carry against you. But again, you might not have as good a purchase onto this grip as you would the Hogue grip, especially when you're firing heavier loads out of the pistol. Now that takes us to accuracy. What kind of accuracy am I receiving out of the 3-inch barreled Model 60? Well, surprisingly, very good accuracy. So when you look at, for example, my 30-foot groups come in and my 50-foot groups, and now these are only 5-shot groups because that's what the cylinder holds, but very respectable for a small, lightweight. Remember, this is only about 1.5 pounds, and it's a revolver, but very good groups. And even when I move out to 70 feet, it's still a very good group for a pistol of this size. And then, of course, I have my single action and double actions, one-handed and two-handed double actions, and again, very good groups. Nothing to complain about. In fact, when I compare these groups to the larger Model 686, you'll find that within my 30-foot groups and my 50-foot groups, they're actually very similar. In fact, if anything, I'm shooting the same with my Model 60 as I am with my Model 66, and then moving that out to 70 feet, I'm a little bit tighter with my Model 66, but not a lot. The spread out is a little bit more, but again, my one-handed 20-foot groups are pretty similar as well. So actually, very, very accurate as far as a revolver is concerned. A lot of course, has to do with, it has a nice trigger. Ergonomically, it's very good. I think my accuracy is improved with my Hogue grips, which is one of the reasons why I typically put them on to my Smith & Wesson revolvers. So again, accuracy is very good for what the pistol provides. So as far as alternatives out there, what is in the market today? Well, there's not a lot, but there's some major manufacturers out there. The typical ones you hear are like Ruger, Taurus. Of course, Smith & Wesson makes many different variants of pistols, and they even these are in stainless steel still, but you're going to see a lot of them now with aluminum and titanium and other types of materials they use, and even with barrel slits inside of them to bring the weight down. But again, it can make even a 38 Special very uncomfortable to shoot if the pistol becomes too light. So even though it might feel light to you when you carry it and you handle it in the store, you need to fire one and figure out what load you're going to carry in it before you determine whether or not that's the right pistol for you. And that's why I still lean towards the Model 60s in the Smith in the stainless steel, because to me it's a good enough balance to fire heavier loads out of the pistol, but still do it comfortably and accurately, as opposed to something that's too light, too uncomfortable. And again, if I'm missing the target, what's the point? There are also competition on the market today as well. There's a lot of concealed carry pistols coming out, by including Smith & Wesson with the Shield models and the Glocks and other things like that, that again, not very dissimilar in size. In fact, in many cases, the profile is actually a little bit less when you consider the cylinder, and certainly it's a little bit shorter. So in many cases, these are becoming even more compact, and they can carry even more rounds. In this case, you can get 6 or 7 rounds out of here as opposed to 5 through the revolver. But some people actually just really like revolvers, and for those people that want to concealed carry with a revolver, the Model 60 is an excellent option, both in the 3-inch barrel as well as the 2-inch barrel, whichever you choose. I tend to have better accuracy out of the 3-inch barrel. To me, it's a good compromise between the 2 as well as the longer barrels, especially in a more compact sized pistol like this one here. So that brings us to the utility. What would you use this pistol for? Well, this revolver would be used for two-legged predators. This is a self-defense handgun. It is not typically used for hunting because of licensing restrictions, and the amount that you can accurately handle as far as 357 loads is limited with this pistol. So really it is more of somewhat of a purse gun, a kit gun, an easy to carry woods gun or self-defense or handgun. Very good for that application. So overall, it is a Smith & Wesson, again, high quality. They tend to hold their value really well. Some of the drawbacks are you're giving up because you only have 5 rounds as opposed to 6 or 7, but at the same token, you also get a much lighter pistol that can still handle the 357 Magnum loads if you can handle it. But the reality is the most comfortable loads, the hottest loads that most people are going to be able to fire out of this are the 38 Special Plus P loads, which again, there's some very good ones out there today. The compromised barrel length, again, limits you from hunting, but it gives you a lot of options as far as both accuracy as well as self-defense, as well as the fact that you have different ammo types you can fire out of here relative to what's comfortable for you to be able to carry and utilize the pistol for. So all in all, I love the Model 60. I've owned a number of them throughout the years. Great pistols to own, great handguns, and a great complement to the revolver lines if you don't have one today. So I hope you liked this video. I hope this helped. If you like our video and you like our channel, please like us on YouTube, and thanks for watching.